So we'll start by opening up the pillows SketchUp file. And these are two pillows. They're basically the same pillow. This pillow I was able to download from the 3D warehouse. And then using Follow Me, I was able to put cording on it. These are groups, so I can change one without changing the other. And it won't affect one or the other. If they were components, I would have to make them unique. I also want you to notice that if you double click inside one of these groups, the other one is going to be not visible. It's just easier this way, so we can work on one versus the other. And you can do this by going to View, Component Edit, Hide Rest of Model, and that will be that way. If you don't like it, you can take that off. You can see the other pillows now there. But if you go to View, Component Edit, Hide Rest of Model, then you can work on this one. And just to be aware that this one is also made of two parts. So this pillow has a front and a back. Again, these are still groups, so what you affect here, you have to do to both sides, which that could be handy too. Sometimes pillows have a decorative front and it's a plain back, so that way you could do that the same as well. This is the same setup, except it has an additional cording that's separate as well. So we can work on each side individually, the back, the front, or the cording. So moving forward, let's go ahead and hide this particular one just to make sure it's out of the way. Select the component, go to Edit, Hide. It's still there, it's just hidden for our purposes, and then we can work on this more readily. So we've been online, let's say, with a client, and we've came across this particular site. It's by a Robert Allen pattern called Woodleaf Block. And then this site has information on it. Especially down here, we can see a repeat. And that's going to be important because we want to bring this image into the model the correct size. So we need to know what the repeat is, and it's 13.5 by 27 in this particular pattern. If we can't quite determine the scale based off the swatch, so this is another fabric found online, based off the swatch, try your best to look at what it would look like. A lot of times these sites will have a picture of the swatch on a piece of furniture, and scale it as best you can visually. That gives you some sense of scale of what you might expect. Sometimes that's the best we can do. So what I'm going to do then is I will make a rectangle the size of that repeat, 13.5, 27, and then I will place this image that I took from the site onto this and kind of scale it up. Now we're going to eyeball it for this particular assignment, but later on in our Photoshop class, we'll see how we can make a repeated texture using the repeat information and an image. So again, so it's basically going to be like mid-leaf here to mid-leaf here to mid-leaf here to mid-leaf here. And I'll walk you through it as we do it in the actual model. But for right now, it's going to be close enough. So I'm going to look straight on as opposed to straight down so that the rectangle is created vertically. R for rectangle. Click here, move up, let go of your mouse, and type in 13.5, 27. So now this is the actual size of our piece here of that will be the repeat of the pattern. Then we'll go to File, Import, and here we'll go to the folder that has all our images, and there's one called Fabric PNG. It's a portable network graphic file, a Fabric PNG that we'll be using for this project. We just downloaded it. When you click on it, make sure you bring it in as a texture. You do not want to bring it in as a match photo or an image. If you do bring it in as an image, it's just going to be like as if you bring in a poster of that, and we can't really modify it much. If you bring it as a match photo, it's just not going to make any sense because it's to be created a perspective drawing, and this is not a perspective image. So click Import. Then I'm just going to go right here and just kind of click and drag up, and right now just get it in there. So you can see it's not a repeated texture because as it repeats you lose that. But I can go to right click on this texture position. So right click texture position. And then I can kind of look at the different pins and kind of set it up. So based off of our understanding of the size, I'm going to go like mid leaf on each one of these points and make this pattern kind of scaled up as necessary. So we can see it's going to be like the mid leaf. See, this leaf right here is kind of the same as over here. I don't know if you can see that very well. Let me shrink it up a little bit. So this leaf here is this leaf here. So if I go to the mid leaf of this one, like down here, and I click and drag this over this point until I kind of get the mid leaf here. Something like that. So you can see it's not going to match 100% perfectly, but since our pillow is not as large as this swatch, it'll be just fine. It'll be just fine. So I'm kind of looking to see like how much of this leaf is here and how much of the leaf is over here. So this will be about the right size. And you can see now too, this bottom piece would kind of come from here. And I sometimes zoom up if I can't get exactly what I'm looking for. I think this will be okay. Again, our pillow is much smaller than the swatch itself, so we should be okay. Right click, done. And now this is a correct scale. If I select this line, M for move, and I kind of move it to get bigger. Okay, there we go, good. Same thing here. Move this one to make it all the way to the edge. I can tell where the edge comes because it doesn't join quite right? So I'm just kind of bring it back. And then go up the bottom. The bottom is fine because that's where we lined it up with. Make sure we go in the blue here. See, I'm going to go right to that. Hit the up arrow key on your keyboard. There you go. All right, so now we have a texture vertical. And what I'll do is then I'm going to go ahead and use the move tool. Move it in the green. And then move it in the red so that it's lining up in front of the pillow. I can also move it down in the blue a little bit if I want. It's not as critical, but if you think the pattern looks better, more centered or not, that's fine too. And then I'm going to use my views looking down. That looks pretty good. In other words, I want this image to be lined up kind of in the center of this. So if I need to, I might want to move it over just a hair. Then I'm going to look at the other side view. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So I just kind of, look, the back view is perfect because I can see exactly how it's going to line up. So I think we're good. So looking at all these different views, I think we're good. So now I'm going to use my paint bucket tool. And when I do the paint bucket tool, I can either use the eyedropper over here, or I can tap the Alt key. Tapping the Alt key makes this an eyedropper, and I can click up that surface. And now I can paint on here. But here's the problem. This is a group, so I've got to go inside the group to paint properly. Let me show you real quick. If I just do this right now, look what I get. What the heck is that, right? Okay. So you need to go into the group. So I'm going to double click once. Now I'm inside the overall pillow group. Double click again, and now I'm on the front face. And again, when I put the paint bucket, because I've already picked up the fabric material, I can click on here. Didn't work out. What's going on here? Let's go back a second. Come back out. I want to verify first if this texture is positioned. We brought it in. It's the right scale. But how is it relating to the rectangle? If I right click, I can see the texture is just put in there. I want that texture to be projected. So that means when I pick up this texture, it will be projected onto the surface that I paint on it. I click projected. So now it is a projected texture, and I can verify because if I go back through the process, I see the little check mark there. But if it's check marked, we're good. I need to use the eyedropper again. Again, either clicking that or using the Alt key. And now I go back down to the surface. B for paint bucket, and there it is. There's the texture on the pillow. So you can see it's been projected onto the pillow. The back is not done yet. We're going to say this pillow will have it on both surfaces, so I'm going to go ahead and project that same image on both surfaces, and that looks pretty good. Now I have a pillow. That is it. So in other words, this pillow I got from the 3D warehouse is about 24 by 24, and so this pattern would fit like that on it. Let me go ahead and move this, make a copy. So move, tap the Control key, move it to the side. So I moved to the side, so in case I need to use this again, it's already the right scale, already the right size. If this is a company or fabric that we like to use over and over again, I might even make a separate component of it that I can use in other images because it's ready to go. But let's say I want the cording now, a matching color for the cording. And by the way, there is going to be some distortion, right? Look at this some over here. up here at the top and so forth. Really, there's not too much I can do about this, but in the overall scheme of things, you'll get a good sense of it. So let's go to File, Import. And we're going to say the cording is this blue. Make sure it's a texture. Import. And I'm just going to put it right on top of here. Right. This one, there's no real scale to it. I mean, it's kind of almost like a solid color. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do texture position. I'm going to make sure this fits pretty much in the whole square. So right, I'm going to just kind of move this over, move this up so that it's all good. And then the same thing, right click, texture. It is projected. That's great. So B for Paint Bucket tool, tap the Alt key, click that, and then use the space bar to go inside once, twice into our cording. B, and just kind of click it. There it is. There's the cording. Close group, close group. So we can see now that pillow is perfectly lined up. Our overall design intent is to have a group of pillows, basically 3 different styles, nicely positioned on a sofa. 2 of them perhaps corded and 1 not corded. So let's go ahead and go to Edit, Unhide All. And so here it is. Now it's the uncorded one we're using. And this will be the one that's corded. These are all 24 by 24 pillows. I'm going to want to keep this, so I'm going to do Move, tap the Control key, and I'll make a copy over here. So now I've got the copy here and this pillow there. This one, though, is going to be like a neutral. So it's not going to be dark blue, or it's going to be kind of like a tan. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this blue, tap the Move, tap the Control key, and I'm going to move it over to this spot over here. And I'm going to double check so it goes in front of this. We'll make this one a blue pillow, and this one will be a tan pillow. So for this texture here, I'm going to do File, Import, and we'll import the sandstone texture. Click, click. And this should still be texture as projected. This one should be right-click, texture as projected. So these will be all good. We're going to go ahead and use the Scale tool to bring down this pillow to be a smaller size. Let's say 18 by 18. And we've got that size based off this chart here, the decorative pillow form chart. It's one of the standard sizes of a square shape, 18 by 18. And to do that, we'll use the Scale tool. And there's a cool little rule about using the Scale tool. You make it a ratio. So whatever size you want, divided by whatever size you have. So if we want 18, we have 24. This is the ratio, 18 divided by 24. So we can type in the scale 0.75. All right, so if I click on the component and then use the Scale tool, I'll click a corner and I'll type in 0.75. Again, you can't click in that box down the bottom, but you just type it in, press enter, and now that pillow is the correct size. And we always want to size the pillow first and then add the texture. Otherwise, we will scale the texture. So if you take a look real quick, notice how these are no longer the correct size. So we always want to scale the pillow the correct size first and then apply the texture. I wasn't so much worried about the cord here, the cording, because it is almost solid color. So now I'm going to go ahead and use the Paint Bucket tool, B for Paint Bucket, tap the Alt key, pick this, and then we're space bar, double click here, double click again, B, whoop, done. And again, sometimes that's what will happen. The pillow will have one face, one nice front, and the back will be neutral. But in this case, we're going to say they're all going to be both this neutral thing. So now we have a pillow that's 24 by 24, a pillow that is 18 by 18, and this one we want it to be almost like a little rectangular little thing. And we're going to say this one is going to be a 12 by 20. So we're going to do the same thing, vertically and horizontally scaling. So in this case, the vertical scaling, we're going to go 0.5 because 12 divided by 24 is 0.5. And horizontal, we're going to type in 0.83 because 20 by 24 is 0.83. And just an example too, we can get larger pillows too. It don't always have to go smaller. So if we wanted a 30 by 30 pillow, we just would have been 30 divided by 24, which is 1.25. So again, and this will get us a 30 inch by 30 inch pillow. So this idea of what you want over what you have is a good ratio that you can put on a calculator and know exactly what scale to make things. And you can have one group or one component you can scale around different sizes based off this technique. We need to now do it two different ways, right? It's 0.83 and 0.5. You can see that we're going to go in one direction scaled 0.5 and the other one scaled 0.83. So click on this component, scale tool, and now we'll click on the middle one in the blue. Click, and I'll just type in 0.5. And on the side, click, and I'll type in 0.83. This little pillow now has been shrunk properly. One thing I noticed though is take a look. Look at the size. By shrinking it, it also seems to be much fatter than I would expect it to be. This isn't supposed to be perfectly round. It's supposed to be about the same thickness as these other pillows, roughly. So I'll use the scale tool one more time and I'll just eyeball it until it looks about right. I mean, if I'm looking at a pillow at a store and I pick it up, it's going to be visually about that size. So there is always some finagling that you might have to do. B for paint bucket, Alt, pick up that material, and then hit the space bar so I can double click inside, double click again, B, paint, space bar, double click, B, paint, space bar, double click. We now have our three pillows. We now have our three textures applied how we want. These are the ones that was the client selected or we liked, and that's what we'll use. So let's go File, Save, Save As, and put it somewhere with your initials. And then open up the sofa SketchUp file to put them in. So let's go File, Import, and go ahead and find our pillows. So as you see, we brought them in, we got more than we needed. Delete or erase. And we've got three little pillows here. And so now we can start moving them around. A lot of times when I have things that aren't needing to be exactly positioned in an exact location, I sort of use the walls and the floors as a guide because there's nothing I want to snap to. So if I double click inside this pillow, you can see that I've lost my sofa. That's because I still have this as hide rest of model. So under View, Component Edit, take off Hide Rest of Model, and now I see my sofa here. Select one pillow, M for Move. And so I'm orbiting, panning, zooming. I'll do one pillow at a time. So I'm going to get it back here, and I'm moving first in the X, Y, and Z. And then I'm going to do Q for Rotate, and I'm going to rotate down here on the ground, click, over here. So it's on the blue, click, and move it over just a little bit. M for Move, again, put in position. You might need to look down, sideways and stuff. I think I need to go up, so I'm going to click on this wall. See, I'm going to go vertical on this wall a little bit. And then I'm going to do Q again, but this time I'm going to do the red. So I'm using the sofa now as my guide. Click, click, and I'm going to give it a little bit of an angle. You know, right? The sofa, the pillows are like lying on the sofa. And it's a little bit of moving in the blue, in the green, and in the red until it looks about right. All right, so that looks about right, right? I mean, the pillow, it isn't going to be like out here somewhere, right? It's not. It's going to be up against the back of the sofa. All right, let's put this one then in front. Whoop, I've lost some of this piece here, so let's move it out a little bit. You don't want to bury your pillow too deeply into the sofa. If you can't quite snap, zoom a little closer to your piece until it looks about right. Okay. This is going to be hidden here, so I think we're good. But look, it's kind of floating. So again, now I'm going to rotate in the green just a hair, and then move it back down in the blue. All right, so that pillow looks like about right placed. So you can see there's a lot of moving things around to be careful, right? Move this over, move this back. So it's sitting on top of here. I'm going to give it a little angle. I'm going to use the sofa as my guide. So click here, straight up, and give it just a little bit of a bend down. Move it over a little bit. Move it up in a bit. Make sure it's not floating. Make sure it's not embedded, right? Look, see how we're losing this cording? So it's all these little things that will be will make it. There, that looks better already. So here I am moving. And then, so I'm using the move, the rotate. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now, here I'm not quite so worried about the two pillows bumping into each other because they will, they will deform a little bit, right? But I don't want it to lose too much of it, right? Sometimes I just type in a number, you know, if for an angle or something like that, lock things in the blue or the red or the green. I think this might be okay. All right. Move it out just a hair. What's nice about this is I can type in 1, 2, 3 or something and just kind of play around with it. I'm going to hit the up arrow key on my keyboard to lock it in the blue rotation. All right. This one, I'm just going to go right back to the back here, kind of sit in the middle. You know, it's not going to sit vertically, right? It's going to lay down a little bit. So, and then again, move in the blue, move in the red and the green. That'll be in the middle, something like that. And these two, I took so long to get them nested nicely. I'm just going to select them. So I hit select one, hold the control key, select the other. M for move, tap the control key, and go over to this side. Then I can either use the flip along or the scale. If I use scale, I can click on this middle here, click, go in this direction, type in -1. If that over here. If I use the flip along, I just flip along. You see there's different axes visible, depending on which one you choose, depends on how the images flip. You can then use the move again to fine tune. And then just click out, click on scene 1, and save this file, save as, and there we go. Now we have our pillows positioned properly.